Did you know that Squarespace are offering a free trial and 10% off your first purchase if you use our discount code, squarespace.com/TrekCulture? What are you waiting for?
From the lighter moments to the hard-hitting sci-fi fare to the move-along home, Star Trek has stirred us in a full array of emotions over the decades, and it continues to do so. In one binge-worthy sitting, we can go from joy to jaw drop, from funny to tear. I mean, the franchise owes its endurance in a large part to the strength of its characters who we have come to love, hate, or even cry over. It's doubtful you needed to dry your eyes over like Khan's demise really, but each to their own I suppose. But anyway, the deaths on this list will surely have you weeping, so replicate yourself a box of tissues, some comfort food as well. Hey, I'm Marcus Bronzy, this is TrekCulture, and this is 10 moving Star Trek moments that made us cry. Number 10, a baby gurgling and crying. Voyager returns home to fanfare, fireworks flying over the Golden Gate Bridge, psych. Those were decade-old images from a news report, and this timeline is about to be rewritten faster than you can say, thanks for your help, Admiral Janeway. I mean, Endgame's faux beginning tugs briefly at my heartstrings, but I'll tell you what, those final scenes, they did a number on us. One of them was the call to the bridge from the Doctor, which I'll get back to in just a sec. Stay with me, all right? Let me land this, okay? Oh, quite good, because we're talking about Tom Paris. He's quite good at flying. Anyway, look, Tom Paris had a difficult upbringing. We know that. He was expelled from Starfleet. He joined the Marquis. He'd been sentenced to prison for treason, and that was before he even met Captain Janeway. So his journey when he was aboard Voyager was really interesting, and he began to thrive notably with his relationship with B'Elanna Torres, who equally faced struggles in life too. As Voyager arrived back in the Alpha Quadrant, Tom and B'Elanna's personal journey reached a new height. There was a tiny, new person in sickbay, and they wanted to say hello, or as the subtitles give it, a baby gurgling crying. The couple were now parents, and that was emotion. Number 9, today was a bad day to die. Characters come and go in Star Trek. You certainly couldn't shed a tear for every red shirt who was prematurely dispatched, or you'd be a desiccated husk, really. For others, as Trekkies, we develop an almost symbiotic relationship with our favourite characters. So when they're ripped away from us, hey, we feel it. Like in DS9, Jadzia was brutally murdered because she was in the way of an orb. And we didn't even know what was next for the Dax symbiont after this. I mean, Worf's death cries for Jadzia, oh man. And then Jadzia saying, oh, baby would have been so beautiful if, oh man, when Cisco, when he got, flipping out, I'm welling up thinking about it. When Cisco was playing a soliloquy over the torpedo tube casket, it hit you right in the chest. In retrospect, the off-screen reasons for the departure only add to the sadness in summary. I mean, in fact, less sad, maybe more angry. It really pissed me off that they got rid of Jadzia. Anyway, look, maybe we'll save that for another list of stuff that makes us angry. Chris, what are you thinking? Number 8, son of Soong, father of Lao. The more Data proclaimed his lack of emotions, pre-chip days of course, the more we were convinced of his actual true feelings, especially when he tried his hand at procreation in the Next Generation episode Offspring. Much like any parent across the ages, having a child for Data had its ups and downs. Quick fact, if you ever say the words ups and downs when talking about Star Trek, Sean's Star Trek sense tingles just that little bit. Go on, try it. She even picked up a skill that had thus far eluded Data himself, the verbal contraction, which gave us hope that maybe she could surpass her pops. But no, a cascade failure meant we watched her life trickle away before our eyes, all to the perfectly framed direction from the first-time director, Jonathan Frakes. Everyone was in bits in this episode. Even the belligerent Admiral Haftel, who'd originally come to take Lau to Starfleet and didn't think of her as an actual person at all. He did a whole 180 and had a lump in his throat when he had to announce the imminent loss of the young android. Number 7, it's death, Jim, but not as we know it. His biblical rebirth may well have been telegraphed a mile off, but the scene of Spock's death had us in tears. Spock's final words of friendship, coupled with the Vulcan salute, are forever etched into the memories of every Star Trek fan, as Kirk's tearful goodbye at the funeral just moments after, in movie time, to the graceful lament of bagpipes. This actually could have been the end for Spock in the Star Trek franchise, as executive producer Harve Bennett stated in Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan DVD special features. The original ending of the picture was grimmer and more final. closing not on the Genesis planet, but on Kirk's solemn speech to the torpedo deck. And what did this ending do to test audiences? Well, it left them in a state of shock. Apparently they exited the cinema much like they were leaving a real funeral. Bennett was like, might have to rewrite this because it's a bit of a downer. And he did, leaving the door open for Spock to return.
And for Galaxy Truth Network, I am Sean Blass. I'm here to tell you about the wonderful, wonderful tool that is Squarespace. Did you know that Squarespace are offering a free trial and 10% off your first purchase if you use our discount code, squarespace.com/TrekCulture? Using Squarespace's Fluid Engine, which is, dare I say, the next generation of website design, you will be able to start with a best-in-show template website, which you can then use to edit and customize as you see fit. We use Squarespace to host our merchandise store, and they make it so easy for us to store our assets. I say, look how easy it is when I drag and click. Also, their video hosting platform will allow you to show your video collection, much like this documentary quality video made by my colleague, Thomas C. Drexler. What are you waiting for? We at GTN recommend you go to www.squarespace.com/TrekCulture today to get a free trial and 10% off your first order. Go now and be well.
Number 6, her name is Elizabeth. The loss of a child is one of the most painful experiences someone can go through. In the penultimate episode of Star Trek Enterprise, T'Pol and Trip, who isn't dead, they have to face the unthinkable. That their baby, a binary clone created without their knowledge by the racist organization Terra Prime, was going to die. In the final scene of the episode, Trip joins T'Pol mourning in her quarters. Overcome with grief, he chokes back the tears as he speaks of the memorial service for Elizabeth, the name chosen by T'Pol after Trip's sister who he lost during the Xindi attack on Earth. In all sorrow, there is a glimmer of hope as Dr. Phlox has discovered that it may still medically be possible for a Vulcan and a human to have a child. A nod to future canon for what is considered by many to be the true series finale of Enterprise. Number 5, the subspace ties that bind. For what is one of the most emotionally impactful episodes of Star Trek and undeniably one of the best full stop, it is tough to pick just one moment that makes us cry. Deep Space Nine's The Visitor is about as tonally perfect as you can get. When you think you're done with the tissues during a lighter interlude, maybe with Captain Nog or a grumpy Bashir, they switch it up on you. You're straight back to the tears moments later. Cirroc Lofton, who played Jake Sisko, revealed that when he read the script for The Visitor for the first time, he was bawling. Lofton and Avery Brooks, obviously Captain Sisko, and Tony Todd, older Jake, all give powerhouse performances in an episode that is ultimately about the father-son relationship with a sci-fi twist that Jake and his dad are not merely bound by the ties of loving family, but also through subspace. In that sense, if we had to choose perhaps the most emotionally affecting scene that comes into this episode, it has to be the midway one. In the infirmary, as Dax, O'Brien and Bashir attempt to rescue, the captain's attention is naturally focused on his son. Mere minutes for Benjamin, Jake has spent the last year believing his father was dead. As Captain Sisko begins to fade back into subspace, he cries out for Jake, who rushes to the biobed and says, "Dad, don't leave me." They are Jake's last tearful words as his father vanishes for a third time. Number 4, blood is thicker than photons and force fields. It's fair to say that when Voyager's EMH Mark I was first activated for use in the Delta Quadrant, the vast majority of the crew, aside from Kez, considered him to be little more than a walking, talking copy of Grey's Anatomy / Dr. McCoy's comparative alien physiology, and his bedside manner? Let's just not get into that. During the journey home, the Doctor's quest to expand his program included a creation of a holographic family. At first, it was a bit more Stepford Wivesy, but then B'Elanna came in, added a little bit of spice into the subroutines, and the Doctor's family life got a lot more real. When the Doctor's young daughter Belle played the ridiculously game Parise's Squares, I mean, don't even know why you're letting your child play that game, because it is like, it's a toughie. Anyway, when she plays Parise's Squared, she has an accident, and during a match, things take a dramatic turn for the worse. Despite the Doctor's best efforts, Belle's injuries prove fatal. At first, he was unwilling to continue the program and witness his own holographic daughter's death, but it's Tom Paris who convinces the Doctor not to walk away from a situation just because you can. The Doctor and his family gather around Belle's bedside, and her final moments are shared in a way which I can best describe as this is where we see just how human the EMH has become. Made of light, flesh and blood, the ties of family run just as deep. Not a dry eye in the house. Number 3, be well, Miles. When Deep Space Nine whips out an O'Brien Must Suffer episode, they pull no punches. And this one, well, I'll just describe what happens because then you'll understand how deep it is. By the end of the episode's cold open, I repeat, by the end of the episode's cold open, O'Brien has already spent 20 years in prison via accelerated memory implantation for espionage. In what follows, O'Brien must process his PTSD from suffering all of the dramas that he did in this jail sentence. I mean, he has hallucinations, he has flashbacks, he has outbursts of anger. As much as those around him try to comprehend what he's going through, they simply cannot understand. It's a reminder that for any mental health condition, what might not seem real to the outside observer is very real for the person that's affected. Towards the end of the episode, O'Brien's struggle to deal with the memories forced upon him reaches an actual crisis point where, because part of his accelerated memories had him with a cellmate, we learn eventually that him and his cellmate didn't just not get along, he actually kills him. Now, whether this cellmate was real or not, the trauma that he went through felt real for O'Brien, which drives him to almost taking his life. Bashir finds him in the cargo bay with a phaser pointing towards his chin. Safe to say though, O'Brien survived, but after the tears, I was also left wondering if anyone could ever really get over that kind of trauma. Number 2, canvas skies and cardboard seas. As we saw with O'Brien, Star Trek is always at its best when it tackles real-world matters through the sci-fi prism. There are a few finer examples of this than in another exploration of the effects of PTSD, this time faced by Nog. At the brutal siege of AR-558, Nog experienced an acute trauma when he was shot during a Jem'Hadar surprise attack. The subsequent loss of his leg and the difficulty of having to adjust to a biosynthetic replacement means that he has flashbacks. He becomes withdrawn, angry of course, indifferent, and the pain still manifests itself in his leg. He starts to find a sort of therapy with the Holo character Vic Fontaine, and their relationship grows throughout the episode into a heart-wrenching speech that translates through the screen thanks to a sublime performance from Aaron Eisenberg. For It's Only a Paper Moon, Eisenberg noted that he drew on his own experiences of going through dialysis as a younger teenager and the effect this had on his life. Nog admits to Vic that the battle and his injury have left him scared of what the future may bring. And he's also afraid that death may be waiting around the corner. He is finally convinced to face his fears, and he does leave the holosuite to rejoin his family in the real world. Was he 100% okay by the end of the episode? No, but there was a feeling that he would eventually be. Number 1, we did miss the carpet. Episode 9 in particular managed to produce the rarest of rarities, a near unanimous moment of joy on the internet. It was inevitable that they went there, but we would have felt robbed if they hadn't. The Fleet Museum's bay doors open, number 12, obviously, and there proudly stood, or should I say floated, the Enterprise D. Well, half of it. Anyway, the OG crew, sorry Wesley, enter and the lights come on, consoles illuminating one after next. They and we see the bridge of the D again for the bridge of the D. Sounds like a bit of an innuendo. Seen the bridge of the D. They and we see the bridge of the Enterprise D again for the first time in decades. Have they grown? No. The bridge is exactly, gloriously, perfectly built, millimeter to perfection from the ground up, and the concluding episodes of the series are amazing because of that. The tears had started to stream, and with the return of the late Majel Barrett as the voice of the computer, we were almost inconsolable. This wasn't a simple nostalgia or a fan service. For a good deal of fans, Star Trek has always represented a fixed point of security, an anchorage in a turbulent world. We weren't crying because the Enterprise D was back, but because we remembered what it felt like to have it there in the first place. So there you have it, 10 emotional Star Trek moments that made the fans and me cry. Have you got something to add to the conversation? Were there parts that were sadder for you? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, like and subscribe. You can find us on Twitter at TrekCulture or on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. I'm on all social medias at Marcus Bronzy, MarcusBronzy, and my award-winning podcasts are called Ain't Got a Clue and How to Kill an Hour. Find them wherever you listen to yours. Until next time, peace.